think it sort of gives it that really cool vibe, you know, when one page is a little bit longer than the other and you get these framed beautiful edges. I think it's really gorgeous. So I've got 4 of these. So I'm going to just leave it for a couple of moments. Hey, I'm Leila, welcome back to my channel. Now today's video almost didn't happen because I didn't plan it out. It sort of happened by itself, except for the editing part, of course. And I'll tell you the story. I wanted to find a good sketchbook with really nice watercolor paper that I wanted to use for when I go out to sketch. I also thought it would be cool to have a kind of a pad where I could have different types of watercolor paper, like for example cold pressed and hot pressed and things like that. So I started to look in the art shops, you know, first place where you'd look. I did not find anything suitable there. All I found was very thin paper, good for pencil sketches, but nothing to do with water. Then I searched online, and anything suitable that I found was extremely expensive, like $150 for something that contains 60 sheets of A5 sized paper. So I went back and tried to remember a class that I had many years ago, like over 20 years ago. And it was a very short class, and this lady was showing us how to bind a book. So I thought, why not? Maybe I'll try, give it a go. And I got some really nice, good quality paper, and you'll be able to see all of that in the video. And I've made a book. I'm actually really happy with it. And what I decided to do as soon as it was done, I just felt so excited to go and try it out. So I went on this little adventure, and I've done a few different sketches. I will show you all of those things in the video and explain what I've been doing in different places that I went to as well. One more thing is that this video also wouldn't have been possible if my family didn't help out, because all of the footage of the driving in the car that you would see in the video was filmed by my mom, and the footage of me drawing from the side was all filmed by my dad. So thank you so much for helping me out. So I hope you like this video, guys. Let me know what you think about it. So you guys, this is Fabriano paper. It's cotton paper. It's absolutely beautiful. I've used this before. I love it. And this particular one is cold pressed, so which means that it's quite porous and it will be absorbing paint. Also, it means that it's much easier to apply washes. It's not going to stop the water from spreading too much, and it'll be for the specific look. Next, I'm going to go for a different type of paper. Now this is arches paper, so I'm going to put in a few leaves of this paper in here, just because I might decide to do some drawing or maybe some wet on dry or watercolor sketches, and this paper will be perfect for it. Next, I'm going to use this paper. This is also a hot press finish. It's a very beautiful paper. I've used it already, so just for a different type. Sometimes you can even see that they can be different color. See, like this is a little bit yellow compared to this, and arches paper looks a little bit gray compared to this. This one's very, very bright white. So I will link all these papers in the description under the video for your convenience, guys, if any of you like any specific materials that I use. This paper is much easier to fold for some reason. All of these papers are 300 GSM, so they're all meant to be the same thickness, but as you can see, different brands tend to have very different approach to creating their products, and that's why some people just swear by one and can't stand the other. They even all have a very different sound to them. Listen to this. This is the cold pressed Fabriano paper. This is Archer's watercolor paper, and this is the last one that we used. Very different, and the feel also very different, so you can imagine that the way the paint would go into them would be very different too. Now you can see that they're all a little bit different in length, because I would like to have that sort of a handmade feel to that to that art diary or project book. I'm actually okay with it being a little bit different. I think it sort of gives it that really cool vibe, when one page is a little bit longer than the other and you get these framed beautiful edges. I think it's really gorgeous. Different shade for different paper, but this one's just a little bit too far out, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this a little bit. See, now it fits much better. And this is my favorite to touch. And look at those fine edges. So I've got 4 of these, 2 of these, and 2 of these. So the way I have arranged them is that I have 3 of these, well, I'd say approximately A3 sized pieces, right? So 1, 2, and 3, and I will arrange them in a way that, you know, they sort of a swap. It's one, then it's the other, and then it's another one. This paper, I really like to use it for larger sketches, so I'm going to make sure that I have it like this in a way that I can use a whole page if I need to create a large artwork. So this would be in the center part. This also has the same setup, so these are two the same, but these ones, this is my favorite paper, so both of them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find something else to place in here, so I can maybe a different shade or something like this, just to play a little bit with a, you know, variety of colors. Let's have a look what other paper I can add in there. I will use a pastel matte. I'm not sure if I'll use it with pastel. Maybe I'll use it with like a dense watercolor. I will probably arrange them like this. The one with the dark sheet in the middle, and then 2 same ones on each side. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to put these pieces of paper. They're not even, so some of them are a bit bigger, you can see here. Some of them are a bit smaller. So what that means is that I don't have to be precise, you know, too precise about where these things are going. I'm going to put them between 2 boards. These are just MDF boards. Can be anything. Really hard cardboard. I just need to keep them in place, really. And I'm going to use these things to hold this in place. Gosh, they're so tight, but I guess that's why they do the job. So I've got this paper that's jammed in the middle of these boards, and it's being held really tight, and by the looks of it, it's not really going anywhere. So now I have this old hand saw. It's quite fine, and because that paper is so thick, you can always do this by using a needle, you know, with a handle. I'm not sure what that would be called. I'm pretty sure there would be a name in English for it. In Russian it's called shila. So it's like a handle with a sharp needle, so that you can make holes for the string to go through. But because the paper is so thick, I'm going to use a saw, so that you'd need something really fine. Okay, let's have a look. 2 centimeters in on this side, 3 centimeters in on this side. Hang on, 1, 2, 3, yeah. And another 3 centimeters. And now the tricky part, because I'm doing it in front of the camera, I'm not doing it in my usual spot. So wish me luck. Okay, I hope it went through. Second hole. That should be, I don't know, the third one is through, but that's the one I'd be able to do with the needle if it needs to be. Let's do this one. I'm going to remove my clips. Remove my boards. Let's have a look. Yeah, just as I thought, this one didn't come through, but it's okay. This one I'll be able to go in with that little tool I was telling you about. Okay, so this is now all the way through and it's done. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add extra layer of paper, because I don't want to waste my good paper for gluing it off onto the side. So I'm going to add a just a sugar gray layer of paper and then use that to attach the whole thing to the book cover. So here is a sugar gray paper that I'm going to slice up so that I can cover this, and then the other side as well. It's not the best paper, it's not very thick either, but it will be very useful. That way I will not be using up all of my good stock. All I have to do now is just to put holes in the gray paper, which shouldn't be too hard because it's really thin. Now I need to line them all up so that they are the way that, you know, when I made them. So now it's time for me to stitch them up. So here I've got a needle and a thread, and here I've got some beeswax. It smells absolutely amazing. It's such a beautiful natural scent, like you can smell bees and honey, and you know, it's just like this waxy smell. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Those of you who use natural bee wax candles with like natural unpurified wax, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to use that to wax my you know, always tie up some extra, but it's better if possible to just keep one. So to wax the string, what you need to do is to a couple of times just pull it through the wax. Start from bottom one here and then add the other ones on top later on. The first one is always tricky because you need to make sure that you have them in the right position. I'm not sure if there are any special bookbinding knots or not. I've never heard of it, but if you guys are professional bookbinders and you know anything special like that, please let me know in the comments. I'd be very interested to know. Yeah, now it's much easier. Because these holes are already aligned together. Keeps getting caught. Okay, and now I'm going to go in the opposite direction. And a little knot here on the side. And see, this is the beauty of using wax, because the string it stops it being too slippery, and it just holds so much better. Okay, so this is the back, and then let's go for the next lot. Okay, so the first one's a bit tricky because we need to align it again, and now I can tie a knot around to keep it in place with the other one. Okay, so again, every time now that the string comes out, I'm gonna be tying it up to this to the previous little booklet, you know, that booklet number 1, to sort of keep them in place. So now we've got 2 of these together, and now, yay, last one. And same as last time, now every time that my string comes up, I will be tying a knot. Okay, so now I have all of this attached and all of these sheets attached. So now we're just gonna have to reinforce the back of it. Because it's not a very wide one, I'm not going to be doing like really special sort of a string reinforcements, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to place few strips of fabric on here just to hold everything together and, you know, tie all the loose ends, so to speak. So for that, I'm going to use a piece of fabric and this glue. Now this is a very strong, very good glue. It's also very flexible as well, so it's very useful and things like that. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut a few strips of fabric and sort of stick them across. So what I'll do is I will stick these through the glue. Okay, so the first one I want to get quite close to the edge. I'll just use some tissue paper to keep the rest of the place clean. So the idea is that you want to saturate this fabric strip with glue. And I'm just going to leave it here for a couple of seconds to soak everything up. I'm going to do the second one. Okay, I think this is all soaked, this first one. And you see now I've decided to add extra layers on the outside lots because, as I said, I don't want to ruin my expensive, beautiful watercolor paper with this. And this one is probably ready as well. Let's put this one on the other. You see, when it gets all soaked in glue, it becomes so pliable. So that's why it's worth leaving it there for 2 seconds. You also want to make sure that it sticks to everything, to the strings that are binding this whole thing, and also to that third thing in the middle there. And you want to put it on something that you don't care if it sticks to it or not. And now I'll repeat the same thing again. So I'm just gonna apply a little bit of glue. Well, it's more than a little bit, but you know, as much as you need to just soak this up. And remember, this fabric will not really be visible much because it will be hidden inside, you know, between the pages. So don't worry too much about the pattern or anything. Traditionally and classically, if you want to make like a proper book, then you'd want to use something neutral like gray or white or black. And that's the thing with glue. Once you start to glue things, glue gets on everything. You've got it on your hands, you've got it on places you didn't think you could possibly have it on. And this will also help us secure, you know, that string that we used to tie the whole book up as well. So you see, I'm sort of just, it's right there. Okay, so now that this is just a little bit, you know, getting a bit drier, I am going to cut out another strip of this fabric, and now I'm going to apply more glue to this strip. So now I'm going to fold these edges like that and apply a little bit more glue. And apply a little bit more glue on these sides as well. Now I'm going to leave this until the glue gets a little bit more tacky. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want the glue to run into the pages. But if I don't put enough glue, then it's not going to do the job that I want it to do. So I'm going to just leave it for a couple of moments.
If you are enjoying this video, I would also like to remind you that I have a Patreon page where you can support me, and also get all the extra videos that are not available here on YouTube. Also, you get to ask me different questions about perhaps your own art, your techniques. You can also request videos, and you can also win some of the sketches that I create here on YouTube in my follow along videos. It's been a few moments. This is catching up a little bit. I'm just going to cut some tissue clips, one piece underneath this. The reason why I'm doing this is because even though this is dry, there might still be some damp glue that when I squash this, it might stick to the board, to this board, and I don't want that to stick. So tissue paper is a very good preventer of that. Okay, let's have a look. It keeps flying off, and now I'm going to clip it in place. Okay. So now I have this contraption here. I am just placing this over the paper, and that way hopefully it will stick really well. A little bit of glue over the fabric as well, and then I'm going to set it to dry overnight before I will be attaching anything else to it. Okay, so it has been 24 hours since I've put this all together, and by now that should really be stuck and dry. So this is nicely glued through all the way, and we've got these things, these sort of strips going that way, holding it together, and then also this just to cover the back of this. So all I have to do now is to strengthen these to turn these into a nice cover for this watercolor book. As you can see, so this is all different paper. I'm loving it so far. Okay, so to make this cover, I've got a few different options. I can make a full-on hard cover out of, for example, cardboard of some sort, and then like some people glue over with leather and things like that. Now I don't really have any of this available at the moment, so I won't do this. So what I thought I would do instead is, rather than making an all the way hard cover, I will just make the front and the back cardboard, and then leave this as fabric. I can always glue additional fabric if I decide to later on, and also when I get a chance I'll just be able to decorate my covers as well, so paint with acrylics or something like this on them. And I quite like that option because, first of all, I've got all the available materials, and secondly because it's just, it's just going to make it more creative. Okay, so I have this pad of paper that is completely finished, so I'm going to use the back of the pad to make the sides of the journal. Now I would need to start gluing things on. So again, to protect this paper, I'm just going to place something underneath. Because you never know, glue is a kind of a thing, it can seep through anywhere and everywhere, so to have a little bit of protection is never a bad idea. What I'm going to do for that is I'm going to apply a little bit of glue here. I won't bother about this paper, but through here, and then I'll apply glue on the side, and then when it sets just a tiny little bit so it's not too runny, I'm going to flip it over and attach it to the paper here. The main one is up here where it's going to be sticking to the fabric, because that's the main part. That's the part that's going to hold everything together. Let's have a look if it's even everywhere. Yeah. And now the same thing at the front. Okay, so what I'm going to need to do now is I'm going to need to apply press on it again to make sure that it sticks well. I will get more clips around here and leave this for another 24 hours to dry, and then let's see what happens tomorrow. Hey guys, it's been about 12 hours and I had a look and I think it's quite dry, so I will show you what it's like. Have a look at this. So this is the cover, which I think I will decorate later with some acrylic paint. And these are all those different types of paper that I've added in. Remember the arches paper here, the hot pressed watercolor, the cold pressed watercolor paper. And so I've got this variety of different textures that I can work on. I think we'll a little bit of tissue paper through here to hide that little bit. That's where those little booklets were joined together. So there's that other one. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Hey guys, so it's been 24 hours, my book is dry, absolutely finished, so now I can't wait to take it out and test it. Let's go. So, my first stop over is at the Honey Center. It's only about 50 kilometers from Auckland. Here you can buy the famous New Zealand Manuka honey. Watch the bees do their thing. Learn about beekeeping. And do some honey testing. And this is the tea tree, also known as Manuka tree. This is where bees go to collect nectar to make the medicinal Manuka honey. It's quite prickly to touch. Most common colors I've seen so far is white and pink. But the beautiful red tree outside the honey center really caught my eye, and I decided to make it my first subject matter. I chose cold pressed smooth arches leaf in the book for that, as I wanted to work in quite a bit of detail. That is the beauty of making your own sketchbook with assortment of paper. As always, I start with soft colors and intensify them later in the process. Such beautiful little red flowers. It was such a perfect day for painting outside. And this is what I had in the end. Okay, time to move on and find more adventure. And so we drove for another 2 hours. And finally we are here. It is so beautiful and peaceful here. No city noises, just fresh air and nature. It didn't take long for the sun to start setting, and the colors of the landscape became even softer. So I decided to make a sketch. This time I went for textured cold pressed watercolor page. It is so peaceful here. All you can hear is birds singing and the wind in the grass.
as the sun sets, it cools down very quickly, so it started to get very cold. But I had to make sure I finished the sketch. By the time I finished painting, the sunset has really progressed. The colors became very intense and very beautiful, but I was too frozen to keep painting outside. So I photographed it and painted it indoors later on. Next morning looked very promising. Nice and sunny, not a cloud in sight. So I decided to look around and investigate. I found some wildflowers that I decided to pick for a quick sketch. This time I decided to use watercolor pencils, just because I did bring them along. Laying them down first and then using water to blend the colors before going back for more detail.
It's an incredibly peaceful place to work. I could definitely stay here for longer, but it was time to go back to Auckland. And here is the sketchbook now. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a very different one, I think. Please let me know in the comments. What do you think? Did you like it? What do you think of it? And I would also like to say a big thank you to all of my patrons who are supporting me on Patreon. I don't think that videos like this would really be possible without you guys. So thank you so much for your support, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed so far. Press the notification bell. I hope you have a great day, and as always, thank you for painting with me.